Today I wanted to share how starting young with savings set me on the right financial path. Trust me, it's been an absolute game changer. So I first got started saving right out of college. Actually, when I got my first job working at Equitable at the age of 22. So I first started my career. I didn't have a lot of expenses. I was still paying rent, but it was pretty low. I didn't have kids yet. Expenses were just overall low. But because Equitable was commission-based, you only eat what you could kill. So when you're first starting off, you don't make a lot of money. I didn't have a ton of money to save with. But one of the best things I did was I just set it up as a percentage of my check to go into the saving. Now there's some really lean months where you might have made maybe a couple $100, which only meant $10 to $20 went into savings that month. But a little bit is still better than nothing. Now, fast forward to my 3.5-year journey with Equitable Advisors, I ended up having about $30,000 in savings before I left there. And most of that was just out of sight, out of mind. All I know is I went to work, they took money out of my check, I invested, and I didn't have to worry about it. I only messed my investments maybe once a year. I hardly ever looked at it because I know this money was for the long term. I really wouldn't need it. So just by being diligent early on at the age of, like I said, 22, I was able to put some money away. And by the time I left though, at the age of 26, I had about $30,000 already saved. And what I did with that $30,000 is because it's 401k, I was actually able to take a loan out to start my new firm. So I left them in 2018, got a loan out. Now when you're taking loans out of retirement accounts, you can only get up to 50% of the account value up to the max of $50,000. So I only had about $30,000 in there. So I got a loan for $15,000. And that's the money I used to help start Scenic Financial. Now I should have to pay that back in the course of 5 years. Took about 4 before I paid it off. Fast forward that account till today, it's currently worth about $60,000. So 5 years ago when I left, it was only like 30. I took $15,000 out. 5 years later, I hit that $15,000 back in. So I only put in, they're less than $30,000 to begin with, but it has gone up over 50% since that time, just because of market appreciation. So it was just the time being in the market that really helped me out. I didn't necessarily put a whole lot in there. Like I said, I probably put less than $30,000 in to begin with, but now it's worth over $60,000. So just from me starting off and only saving for those 3 years, really took advantage of the compounding effect, and then I was able to really ride the market up. So the earlier you can start saving, even if it's only a little bit, goes a long way. Now, of course, I have other accounts outside of this one, but this is one I kept on the side kind of separately. So I kind of tracked its progress. I also couldn't really commingle with funds until the loan was paid back. So I kind of kept it on its own. I'll probably keep it that way for some time just to kind of test out some different investment strategies with it. But seeing that it's gone up to $60,000 over the course of 10 years now, and I've only put in for 3 years of it. If I just let it sit, I'm just kind of curious what it'll do. The rule of 72 says if money grows at 7%, it's going to double every about 10 years. So 10 years from now, that account should grow to be about 120,000. 10 years after that, it should be about 240. And by that time, I'd be for early 50s. I want to go another 10 years, 240 be $500,000. We'll see if I get there in my 60s. That's just the power of compounding interest and getting started early. So it doesn't necessarily take a lot to do. You just have to be consistent with it. The best thing to do is to kind of put this money aside, treat it like a bill, and pay it every single month. Now, there are times I wanted to stop taking money out and putting it in an account. There's times I wanted to pull the whole thing out because, as life goes on, things happen. When I first got started, I was still paying rent, no kids, I wasn't married yet. 2 years after that, then we had, twins on the way. We just bought a house, just got married. So the bills were really stacking up. And so it's very tempting to do. But if you can stay diligent and keep paying these bills, even if it means having to cut back on your lifestyle, it should pay off in the long run. Because all you're trying to do is really compound this thing. Get that snowball nice and big so you can live off the interest in the future. And then if you take bites out of it when it's still small, it really hurts the compounding effect. We call that opportunity loss. When I had $10,000 in there, if I just said, hey, I'm going to pay off this credit card bill or whatever it was at the time, I could have easily went in there, cashed it out, paid taxes, penalties, whatever it was. I could have paid off what I need be. But that $10,000 could never grow for me again, which means fast forward 20, 30 years, I still would have nothing because you spent it all. The opportunity cost of it wasn't just the taxes and fees, it was all the future growth that we lost on that account. So it's important to keep opportunity costs in mind anytime you're trying to tap into an investment, especially if it's one that's growing for you. Because it's not just the money that you're spending that you're losing, you're also losing what could have been earning had you not touched it. You're interrupting the compound interest. So the same logic is what I've been applying over the years to all the different types of investment strategies and accounts that I've accumulated. Now, fast forward to now, the strategy is still something I really like to use. I always try to keep my investments in the market as much as possible. I don't like touching them if at all possible. And really things haven't changed much since then, right? I still have mortgage payments. Now I have 3 kids to pay for. Daycare's getting expensive. So there's always bills that are coming up. There's always that temptation to, maybe I shouldn't save this month. Maybe I should pay this off instead. Maybe I could, skip putting money into this so we go to Disney, something like that. But all I know is when I start doing the math of how much does it cost me not to save, you really can't afford it. So yes, maybe it means taking out some credit card debt. And while it may seem like the worst thing to do, you'd be surprised for an advisor to tell you that. Sometimes it's really what you got to do. If you don't want to pay taxes and penalties, if you want to keep hitting your savings goals, maybe taking out a little credit debt isn't the worst thing in the world. Now, I'm not saying to go into debt. I'm just saying that when it comes to it, if the option is, hey, I got to put money on a credit card that I really can't pay off for a few months versus, hey, I'm going to tap into what I talked about early, in the long run, on the surface, while it may seem like that's crazy to pay, 15, 20% of this credit card, when I can get it out of this account for just the taxes, or sometimes not even that. When you go over the long run, because that credit card assuming is paid off in 6 months versus that account's got 30 years to grow, it's going to generate a lot more income and growth than interest you would have paid. So in situations like that, maybe it would make sense. So over the years, I just been keeping up with that strategy. And today, as I checked, I think I have around $300,000 saved across all the accounts. That's both me and my wife. But we're looking at Roth accounts, crypto accounts, investments, stocks, you name it. If I add everything all up, we're just shy of $300,000. And we're only in our early 30s. Basically, I went from having basically nothing 10 years ago to almost $300,000 today. Now, that does not include real estate. I don't ever include real estate because it's not a liquid asset, so don't put that in the calculations. And actually, it's not from a super high income stream. I don't think I've ever made more than $100,000 in a single year. I've gotten close to it a few times, and the business definitely does more than 6 figures. But in the financial services world, it can be kind of expensive to run a firm. You take all of the costs of operations they have to go through, the software, the licenses you have to have, the insurance policies you have to have. Then I pay out with my partner. We have equity split. There's video editors I got to pay. So, and then on top of that, once you kick out expenses, you still got to pay the federal government and you got to pay some employment tax. So there's a lot of expenses that come off the top that kind of don't it down. That's one of the reasons why a lot of advisors don't last more than 3 years, because the costs can be quite high, especially if you're on your own like me. And then it's just hard to get started and keeping the cash coming in. So that $300,000 was not a result of some giant income stream that I've built up over the years. It wasn't from some type of inheritance. It was working, doing my budget correctly, and making the proper investments and learning how to leverage my money. Now, I did have some help, and that's because I have the knowledge of the investment industry, particularly the insurance markets. I knew what investments or type of accounts to put money into to leverage them better, so I could get more use out of them, so I could spend that same dollar over and over again. So because I leveraged some of these strategies, I was able to multiply my money much faster than traditional stick it in a stock account and wait, cross your fingers and hope it grows type of strategies. I definitely have some of that stuff too. I have other accounts that grow at a guaranteed percentage rates. I have other investments out there that are growing at certain percentage rates, some fixed and some maybe not fixed, but pretty reliably returning higher rates of returns than what traditional markets currently offer. So the moral of the story of all of this is to start saving as early as possible. Stay dedicated to it. Try to avoid the emotional roller coaster of looking at your account, thinking you have to sell, getting involved with, I need to pay this bill off right now, and stopping your saving strategy or cashing out of it completely. Second thing to take away is that where you invest does matter to a degree. You also want to have good rates of returns, so you don't pay a lot of fees, but there are certain types of tools that can be used or different type of investment platforms out there beyond the traditional market that may be able to help you get to your goals faster. And third, once you build the habit of saving each and every month, it's going to feel weird not to do it just because it comes like a normal bill. As you start to see the progress and the growth get bigger and bigger, it becomes a lot more motivating. But the first thing to do is you just got to get started, and you got to stay consistent with it. So starting as soon as I did really give me a head start, and I'm confident I can do the same for you. Let me know in the comments what age you began starting to save for your retirement. And as always, remember that your future depends on what you do today.